Hey friends, and welcome to a homesteading hustle. Today I'm going to share with you some of the essentials that you need if you're just getting chicks for the first time, or even if it's just been a while since you've had chicks and need a little reminder. These little tips will help you in being prepared for your babies. So we have a couple chicks here. These are actually about these babies are about 2.5 weeks old. So these ones are a little bit older now. So when we first brought these babies home, they came in a box because we had them delivered to the post office from Hoover's Hatchery. If you can definitely order chicks online. You can also obviously hatch your own, which maybe that's why you're watching this. You have new hatchlings at home. Or maybe you have a broody hen and she hatched eggs but maybe isn't caring for the chicks. Again, all these things will be appropriate situations for these items. So for these little babies, the number one thing that you are going to need is a safe place to put bedding into. So we currently are using a horse trough. Now this is a larger horse trough. It doesn't have to be. We have 19 chicks in here right now. We have in the past used just large storage bins, plastic storage bins. Those work great. Just kind of depends on how many chicks you are getting. The horse trough works really well for a larger amount. Keep in mind, as they get bigger, they will be able to jump and flutter. So you want to make sure this girl, your sides are really tall. Yeah, because you don't want them jumping out and fluttering around your house. Bedding. So we do a pine shaving bedding. You can get them at your local big bags of it, and they come pretty compacted. So a little bit, like one bag goes a long way. They come in different size flakes, so they can come in small, medium, and I think large flake. We usually always get the medium flake. I don't know why she's laughing. We usually get the medium flake. Now, I have had the small flake for the baby chicks. It is not my favorite because they want to peck at it, and I just don't really want them eating the little wood chips, and I've seen them do that before. So I would suggest a medium flake. Seems to be the best. In the bottom of the reservoir that you're using for your chicks, you only need a good, maybe 2 inches or so thick at the bottom, as far as a layer on the bottom. Now you will want to change your bedding frequently, or just add to it and do the layering method. You want to keep your chicks clean and dry. That will keep them free of any issues for the most part. What you're going to need is a heat lamp. So for the first little bit, your chicks need to be warm. Think about a broody hen and then being under a mama hen. She is super hot. I don't remember the temperature. I'll put it right over here. But broody mamas are hot, and so they really need that warmth to regulate their body temperature. They are new to all the elements and just really need that first couple weeks to have that heat, allow their bodies to start growing and developing. We do lights off time during the day. This allows their body to start getting hardy because you don't want them reliant on that light source. You can also start moving the heat source further and further away, just a little bit at a time, because we are in a very cold climate and we like to hardy our birds off and get them acclimated to cool temperatures very quickly. We don't use an external heat source throughout the winter. It's super important for us to hardy our birds off. Also with the heat lamp, there are a couple different colors of lights that you can get. You can get the white light or you can get the red light. It has something to do with their body's ability to rest more and to be more calm with the red light. So I think at this point I would definitely suggest doing the red light heat lamp as opposed to just a basic white lamp. But either one is great, just keep their little bodies warm. Oh, also, something that I forgot that is super important is to observe your chickens. If you notice that your chicks are all huddling together, that would indicate that they're cold. If they're dispersed and furthest away from the light, that means that they're too hot. So when it comes to temperature in your brooder, you don't have to have a specific temperature. There is a recommended temperature, but if you just pay attention to your chicks and look at their behavior, you can tell what they need. All right, so we got the reservoir, we got the bedding, we got the heat lamp, and obviously you need to feed and water your chicks. So you definitely want to get whatever kind of feed that is going to be best for the use of your chickens going forward. Now, I know so many people who have just use kind of a basic chicken feed. Obviously for babies, you want to get like a starter or a grower feed. Completely up to you if you do organic or not. We have these chicks started on an organic starter. You want them to get their feathers. Having enough protein in their diet is super important for them to gain those feathers. The feathers are what is going to allow them to become hardy quicker and keep them safe and protected. And obviously I know there's breeds out there that don't maybe have as much feathers, and they have like the bare necks and all that stuff. So each breed is going to be a little bit different, but for the most part, as a general rule of thumb, you want your chickens' feathers to come in really nicely, keep their protein up, make sure you have a good feed for them. Okay, so those are the main essentials, the 5 essentials that you need. Now there's a few things that you don't necessarily need, but are nice to have. One of those is a probiotic. So they come in little packets, typically at the feed store, and it's just a powder. You mix it in with water. You do it like a gallon at a time, and then you pour the gallon into their water reservoirs that they're drinking out of. And that allows their bodies to better process everything. Obviously a probiotic, you want to have good gut health for your chicks. It's really important for your chickens to be pooping, essentially. You don't want your chicks to have what's called pasty butt, and that is actually where they get some poo attached to like their vent, and it can seal up their vent, or it can cause the feathers to close their vent, and that is a fatal situation for chicks if it's left untreated. Their bodies need to expel that, and it's super important for their vent to stay clean. So probiotics will help if you notice that that's an issue. Now, right now, we do have well water, and we do mix in a probiotic with that a lot of the time and not all the time. That, again, personal preference, not essential, but definitely good to have. Along those same lines is an Electrolyte. We stopped using the Electrolyte packets because it does have red dye in them, and we just try to stay away from food dyes as a whole. And so we figured if we're going to not put red food dyes in our body, why put it in our chickens? But again, personal preference. If you think electrolytes are essential for your climate or your chicks, whatever you need, if they're lacking something, definitely use it. It's a good source. We have used it in the summertime when it's really hot to make sure our chicks stay hydrated. It does help them retain that water a little bit and just replenish their body. So use your discretion on that. Very handy, not needed. Another thing that is handy, but again not needed, is a fancy food and water feeder. Really, honestly, you can use a little Tupperware container for this, as long as it's shallow enough when it comes to the water. You don't want them trying to, swim around in a couple inches. You could have drowned chickens, but ours is like 2 inches deep, and they stand up in it just fine. It is kind of a pain to clean the larger ones, and the larger ones take up a bit more space in the small brooders when they're little like this, and so we prefer to use just smaller little cups. I do have another video when we got our chicks for this season, and you can kind of see our setup. I can link that down below if you're interested. Yeah, so you don't need fancy feeders. That's really a personal preference. We also, right now, we do have a little yellow feeder that allows our chicks' heads to slide into each of the little slots. You don't need one of those. You can just have, again, open Tupperware containers. Not a big deal. They will stand on it. They will poop, but their poop is so little at this point, and as long as they're healthy, their poop shouldn't be super messy. It's just like little tiny little nuggets. It's no big deal. Something else to note about those feeders with the individual spots to put their head into that they can kind of peck through is, as they get bigger, you want to make sure that their heads aren't rubbing against the sides as they come in and out of that little feeder. We have noticed with some of our meat breeds in the past, when their little heads come in and out of there, they're rubbing and they start to kind of rub off some of their feathers. And you just want to make sure that those feathers stay intact. So keep in mind that as they grow, you may have to change the size of the things that you are using. So when it comes to, they're 2.5 weeks old. We're going to take them, they get big fast. We're going to take them out of this horse trough very soon. We're going to move them into our garage brooder, which has a chicken netting over the top, or chicken fencing, chicken wire over the top, which will help keep them in so they can kind of move around, flutter around. They have a little more space to go. Same thing with the food and water. As they get bigger, they're going to need more at one time. You're going to want to change the size of that as you go. And also the bedding, the depth of bedding, how much bedding, how frequently are you changing it? That's going to change as they get bigger, as they expel more. That's all going to change. So the first couple, maybe 1 to 2 weeks, is the stuff we're talking about right now. So hopefully that is really helpful. And if there's anything else that you can think of, I would love to hear your opinions, thoughts, all of the above. Just put them down below. Let me know. So there's kind of the basics for the first week, week and a half, 2 weeks. That's all you really need. Just keep it simple. Chickens are not a difficult animal. They're probably the best animal to start with on a homestead. If you like this video, please give me a big thumbs up and subscribe if you like homesteading information. We'll be sharing more of what to do, what not to do, and just generally what we do around here. And I also like to bake bread if you like recipes, all that good stuff. I look forward to seeing you again in the next one. Thanks for watching.